There we go. And welcome to today's show, all about cell phones. And interestingly enough, had a call come in just before the show, and you may have heard the last little ring right as the countdown ended. So today we're talking about phone cameras. Let me move that graphic out of the way. And if you are here for something else, if you have questions regarding something else live streaming, throw them into the comments. It's not limited to just phone cameras, but today I'm focusing just on phone cameras, particularly because Apple has been in the news because they actually got a broadcast of Major League Soccer in the United States shot entirely with phones as the imaging device. Now, there were hundreds of thousands of dollars of other equipment and adapters and whatnots to make them work the way we need them to work for a broadcast, you know, like a $200,000 ENG lens on the front of the thing. But the imaging device was still the phone. So people who are saying, people who poo-poo cell phones as imaging devices, they can just pick up their bags and go at this point, because cell phones, for years actually, for several years actually, I've been using cell phones as multi-camera live switching cameras for almost 10 years now. I started in 17, and even in 17 they were already pretty good. And as witness to that, I held up before the show, I held up a stack of my, I call them cameras. They're cameras. These are all iPhone SE and 5 series, but these served me very, very well for years. And I've got these custom cases with threaded mounts so I can put a wide angle or a telephoto on the front of this. All of these actually, see, all of these have these mounts on here, and I did that for years, and you can actually see that content. Let's go over here. You can actually see this content if you went to the Stream for Us page, which is my YouTube channel for my streaming business. Like that DFW AMA luncheon right there, that is with these cameras. And I'm going to say cameras. I'm not even going to call, I mean, I may still call them phones, but they're cameras. You know, I would buy them from Walmart for $99 with a cell phone plan that I would never activate. They're just Wi-Fi devices. And they're cameras. They are literally cameras. And $99 for a HD camera is pretty darn good. Plus, it's a camera with other advantages, and we'll get into that. I've got a whole presentation planned, but over here you can see this video right here. This video, whole thing is filmed with cell phones, with these very cell phones. This one down here, this Mayor Business Luncheon, that was with the cell phones. This 4-hour, what is this, 2-hour and 55-minute show, this was all cell phones. This one down here, 4 hours, all cell phones. All of these down here, all cell phones. And you can look at all of these. And this is cell phones from 17 and 18. So 5-year-old cell phones is what all of these are over here. Today's cell phones are just better. I mean, not like night and day better, but they're better. You know, they're able to handle more things. They give us more pixels. They're able to see in a little bit darker situations and things like that. So yes, they're better, but it's not like, you know, you're going to look at that and say, oh my God, that looks like crap compared to today. No, it actually looks pretty darn good. And these are all cell phone videos on here. And hey, you know what? If I felt these are good enough to be on the YouTube page to demo my work, then, you know, I think they're pretty good. But hey, throw it in the comments if you have used cell phones for your work, how you use them, and what you feel are the pluses and the minuses. You know, Grace, good. So welcome everyone to today's show. Thank you all for being here. I know it's a worldwide show. I already saw somebody chime in from Lagos, Nigeria. So I think that's the first Nigeria I have had in the show. So thank you all for Fato Constefanolawale. I don't know where the divisions are in that, so welcome. Thank you all for being here. And if you have not already chimed in, let me know where you are watching from today. I just love knowing where everyone is watching from. I know we got Germany in the house. I know we got Nigeria in the house. I'm pretty sure we probably got a couple in the US in the house, including our regulars in Pico Riviera, California. Thank you very much for being there. I really appreciate you chiming in. And as I said in the beginning, I will be talking a lot about cell phones today. I actually have a whole presentation to put together, so it's going to be a really organized show, despite the fact the table is just awash in clutter in front of me. But if you have a question about something else, throw it into the comments. This is a dialogue. I am not AI generated. I can give you 30 years of production experience. I can give you hands-on. All AI can give you is a summary of the spec sheet that it read off of the web, and more than likely it'll get part of that wrong. So, dear, just throw your questions into the comments, throw your comments into the comments, and hey, if you want to use the comments to throw $1 at me or whatever you think would be appropriate, that would be fine too. I take that as well. So thank you very much for that. I will fade that away. We do have a couple comments. Let's go down here and see who else has chimed in. Oh, the Ohio Political Newsnet in Ohio. Thank you very much for being there. We also have Kilobyte. That's a cool name. I like that. Kilobyte in Arizona. Thank you very much. Oh, Wolfgang is in Germany. Managed to finish my live stream in time. Now I'm here to relax to watch mine. See, I should have tuned into yours, except I literally was still looking things up in my pre-show. So before the show, I'm just like swamped for hours setting this thing up. People who think doing these live shows is easy has never had to do 150 of them. Let's see, who else is here? Moshito Films. Hello from South Africa, Limpopo province. All right, 2 in Africa. See, 2 in Africa. I love that. We have Eric from the Netherlands. And thank you. I follow you always. Thank you for following me. I appreciate that. And for everyone who hasn't, feel free to subscribe, hit the like, and hit the little the little bell button. I don't know if they really do anything, but Kilobyte is Arizona, thank you. And on vacation in Puerto Vallarta, Jerome Terry. I'll get it. Thank you very much for being there, Jerome. Oh my goodness, and Ian Harrington. I know the name. Ian Harrington and I have worked together back in the Switcher Studio days, and I will be talking about Switcher Studio today. But yes, Ian Harrington and I have worked together. We even did a Switcher Studio meetup at his studio in Las Vegas. So that was very, very cool. Thank you very much for being there. I don't know which made you tune in, but hey, thanks. And he got 2 Telly Awards. Nice. In Las Vegas still. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being there. All right. So let me go through this. I do have some questions. I see the person, I'm going to just say Fato. I see you, Fato, asking about the Osee. We'll get to that. We will get to that. It's actually part of my presentation. So thank you very much for chiming in, and all of you for letting me know where you're watching from and things like that. So let me move. I got a bunch of things on the table. Where did my presentation go? Alrighty, so it's going to take me a second. I don't know why my presentation has vanished from the browser, but I'm just going to go. Thankfully, it's in the cloud. So I'll just hunt it down again. That's weird. The browser window closed. Maybe as I was like trying to get all these things prepared, I must have accidentally closed it. But this is part of live shows. Things happen. Wait for it all to load. Come on. There we go. So let's do this. Today we're going to be talking about phones as cameras. So we're making the real important use here is we're making use of what they call computational photography. I'm going to leave all these things over here because I have to go between the tabs at the top. We're making use of computational photography, and that's what makes cell phones really useful. I mean, it's one of the many things that make cell phones, but the computational photography allows us to achieve images that we almost would not be able to otherwise achieve in a very compact form, battery-powered, wireless body that, if you want to buy something from 2 or 3 years ago, it's available cheaply compared to, you know, a DSLR or something today. It's really has a lot of value. So in choosing a phone, a cell phone, so I have many here, in choosing a cell phone for a camera, you can see my Stream for Us logo on the back of all these production cameras. They're readily available at a low cost. You do not have to go out and get the iPhone 17 or the one that's in the MLS thing. You don't have to get that one. You can get that one from 2, 3, 4 years ago. It's still good. I mean, the current one is, you know, a little increment better and a little increment better, a little increment better, maybe in certain respects, but they're available for you at low cost if you go back a year or 2 or 3 or 4, and they're still really, really good. And if you get one of these awesome things, look, they got multiple focal lengths in one device. I have the wide angle. That's a pretty darn good wide angle. I've got my normal lens, and then I've got a telephoto. And in getting older units, like Apple has said, well, we're going to have a 5X. No, we're going to have a 3X. No, we're going to have a 2X. What exact optical multiplication factor for their telephoto lens, it varies from year to year. So you may actually want one that's older. I have a Samsung. It has a 3X telephoto. But if a couple years ago, they actually had a 10X optical telephoto. Maybe I want that one. So I can get the Galaxy S23, save a bunch of money, and get a longer optical zoom lens. Win-win, as far as I'm concerned. Internal battery. Some of these batteries will last a whole gig, you know, an hour or 2. Turn down the brightness on the screen. You know, that sucks up a lot of power and creates heat. Or plug in an external power adapter, a big chunk and battery brick that's powering this, and then when that one goes dead, you just swap it off and put another one, and you got a built-in UPS in the phone. And it's this big. Look, it's a camera. It's multiple cameras and the battery. And it's this big. Like, how else can you carry 6 cameras? I'm carrying 6 cameras. Internal battery, wireless, Wi-Fi, built in. It's capable of using NDI, SRT, RTMP, WebRTC. You can use an app for particular things and communicate. There's lots of different capability. There's also wired connectivity. You can take a device, I'm actually using it for the iPad, but you can plug in an adapter and get HDMI out and then run it directly into whatever you need. And there's internal recording on top of all of that as well. If I were to sell you this item, if I were to sell you 6 of these things that have internal battery, wireless, it's capable of NDI, wired connectivity, internal recording, how much would you pay? And I mention that only because I am selling off some of my old kit. I'll just throw this up here for a second. I have the whole kit and caboodle, all of these cameras that I don't use anymore because I've shifted into using PTZ cameras a lot for my gigs, and I don't use these as much. Although having 7 cameras sort of kind of makes up for, you know, you can have one set to telephoto and one set to wide and one pointed this way, one pointed that way, and one pointed up, one pointed down. But I've got a whole kit over there on eBay. So you can, and I'll put a link to that in the description, and if it sells, then I'll get rid of it. But you can see there's grips, there's wide angle and telephoto lenses, it's a whole gaggle of stuff. And, you know, you're getting 7 cameras plus the iPad app, plus the wireless hub, plus all the lenses, plus for less than $100 a camera. So that's what you can get if you're looking at older devices that can save you money. readily available for used for a low cost, and you don't need to have the latest devices to do HD video streaming. Now, there are also phone accessories out there. There's you know, DSLR adapters so you can put a film lens on the front of an iPhone. There's external input output, like Blackmagic has their, you know, iPhone USB-C breakout box that'll give you SDI and HDMI and everything else. There's cages and frames that'll hold lights and wireless receivers and all this stuff. So it's more than just the phone. It's like, you know, we're not saying somebody's just walking around doing this. Although technically you could, you know, be as simple as this. Somebody just like walking around with a phone, you know, and they could be getting, you know, crowd shots, you know. They're actually a camera operator, just kind of discreet, you know. There's advantages to that. And, oh, wrong mouse, sorry. Like this one. This is the Blackmagic adapter on the bottom of the phone that's in a cage. This is the soccer game from the Instagram reel on an article. So I've got a couple things in here that I will play for you so we can click on the, oh, I already have that. So let's go up here and we can play this. And I gotta hit the mic.
To capture an entire MLS match for broadcast. This entire stadium is rigged up with 15 iPhone 17 Pro Maxes to cover not only the 84,000 square feet that is a soccer pitch, but to get angles like this. That is not a spot where you can put a traditional broadcast camera.
Yeah, he's wrong. It's marketing to say that you couldn't put a traditional broadcast camera in a goal. They've had cameras in goals for years. They got tiny little, you know, box cameras with teeny little lenses. They've actually put broadcast cameras in a wicket for cricket. They've put it in the wood pole. So yeah, don't mind that. That's 100% wrong.
Because of the general size of those cameras. The beauty of the iPhone 17 Pro Max is that you can HDMI out straight from the phone into a standard truck production. That allows us to put every single one of those cameras that are out there into this monitor wall and push it out to over 100 countries worldwide, all using the device that's in your pocket.
Yeah, you're not going to go HDMI out into the truck because almost no truck is set up for HDMI. It's set up for SDI. Secondly, they need them to be gen-locked, which is what the Blackmagic helps with. And thirdly, the distances they're covering are probably actually they're converting it to fiber. Because even SDI, or after like 200, 300 meters, you're going to need a repeater and things like that. So they're probably coming out SDI, going into a fiber converter, and then the fiber is going back to the truck. So, you know, he's making it sound like it's just so much more easier than it is for a broadcast truck, but it is a little bit different. So, and again, that comes from working on broadcast truck type gigs. So that's good. And then I've got another one here. This one I really like because it shows you the big broadcast lens. You know, that's over $100,000 worth of glass, not counting everything else, the stand, the adapters, the frame, the monitor, the controls. That's $100,000 to $100 to, I don't even know how much that one is in particular, but you don't buy those, you rent those. You don't buy those. But here we go. Let's get the audio.
To work with the Fujimon HCK 25 to 1000 millimeter lens that is about $265,000. And how does it zoom? Just like your regular broadcast camera zooms in from far, far away. Hey, I got a chance to go to the MLS soccer match between the LA Galaxy and Houston Dynamo FC. Thanks for the invite, Apple. And this is the first professional sports game ever to be shot entirely by iPhones. That's 15 cameras around the field and in the stands, 8 of them with lens attachments and 7 of them using the native camera lens from the iPhone. Every shot you see during this game was shot on an iPhone. There's a cameraman roving the field for warm-ups. there are cameras facing the benches to see their reaction.
One comment came in. Eric says, the BMD dock has no SDI, and I actually think right there is 2 SDI jacks, or SDI out, and then maybe even Genlock in or timecode. So there's definitely SDI on those docks as well as audio and things like that. And I think that's the key thing, is to convert it for the SDI that would be in a normal production.
Actions and cameras placed behind the goals. And up top, that's the main camera one that you see for most of the broadcast. Now, this is a historic moment for sports broadcasting and a historic moment in technology for the iPhone. They're using the Blackmagic app. Each camera is calibrated by an iPad that locks in its settings externally, and then they're recording in Apple Log 2 at 1080p and 60 frames per second. The iPhone 17 Pro Maxes are connected via USB-C to HDMI, and then that video feed is sent via fiber for production. We even got to go inside the broadcast production truck, which gets all the camera feeds live. And at this point, this is just like a broadcast any other time that they've done thousands of times over and over. What makes this special is that this is the first time an entire broadcast has been done on just an iPhone, something that you couldn't have imagined as recent as even a few years ago, but now it's happening. So thanks again to Apple for the invite, and what a great moment to be a part of. Woo!
And I honestly think you could have done it a couple years ago. It's just the big difference is Apple finally relented and converted their phones to USB-C. And now the dock capability that the Blackmagic app and the Blackmagic dock makes it easier. Whereas before you would have to use a Lightning converter that would go to HDMI, and then you'd have to convert the HDMI to SDI, and then the SDI to fiber, and then eventually you'd get there, and the Lightning port is really fiddly. So yeah, you could have actually done it a few years ago. It's just a whole lot easier. Eric says the BNCs are only timecode and Genlock. Oh, interesting. So thank you for that information. Pocket Video School says, saw these videos the other day. Impressive, but how practical would they actually be? You did see in these videos that a good amount of the cameras, they did say they had a lot of cameras behind the goals, on the audiences, in the, the boxes for the teams and stuff like that. Those are all just like phones with no additional lenses. So it actually is kind of practical, and phones are very discreet. You can place these things in place. You can put these things in places that really don't draw a lot of attention to themselves. It's very, very cool. And compared to, let's just say, I'm going to spend $1,000 on a phone, and it has a built-in battery and all that stuff, and it has 3 focal lengths on it, or I could spend $3,000 to $5,000 on a little Sony DSLR with 1 lens on it that maybe can zoom, or maybe it's just a prime lens, times 10, then you're talking, $10,000 versus $50,000. It adds up over the course of a larger event with more cameras. So if you were doing a concert, or if you were doing a large sporting event and things like that, and you wanted to have the ease of use of something small, light, wireless, battery operated with different focal lengths, and also you can put these things in cages and they're very robust, whereas a more DSLR-like thing, now the lens is sticking out, and if it's, let's just say it's one of those Spartan races in the mud and in the rain and stuff like that, phones today are IP68 rated. They can go underwater. I mean, you're not going to get a wireless signal from underwater, but if it was raining or something like that, you wouldn't have to worry about it. How practical are these things? In certain cases, you would actually prefer to have a battery-operated 3-lens, completely water sealed battery, wireless camera. Because he's asked this, I think 3 to 4 times, I will answer this. How can I connect my black camera? Let's just see. You asked it. my phone camera to my Osee GoStream. Is there any app I can connect Blackmagic camera using a cable? Please explain. If you have a phone that has USB-C, you can use the Blackmagic dock. Or if you have a phone with Lightning, you could use an HDMI adapter. A little dongle is all it is. It just hangs off the phone. I don't have one. I have one, but I'm using it. And then you can go HDMI into your GoStream. Or you can run an NDI app on your phone and connect it to the local area network that your GoStream is plugged into, depending on which one it is. If you have the Duet, then you have one NDI channel. If you have the Duet 8, you have 4 NDI channels, and then you can bring that signal in from the phone via wireless NDI. That's how you can do it. Can you share your WhatsApp number? No, I don't do I do offer one-on-one tech support. You can go to StreamTek.us and I can, do that directly, but I do not give out my WhatsApp number so that people can call me up and I can help solve all their problems. That's not something that I do. Pocket Video School. How does camera control from the truck for changing light conditions? I believe that may be capable through the Blackmagic interface, working with the Blackmagic app. That's part of the magic glue that they were probably utilizing in this setup. Now, that be told, even if you're not using this setup, there's ways to do that. So, and we'll get into that. So, taking that off. And then, I don't want to make it seem like only iPhones have this capability. They don't. There's the next thing I wanted to show is Marcus Brownlee was talking about some high-end. I mean, if we're going to talk about the iPhone 17 Pro Max, you're talking, $1,500 to almost $2,000 phone anyway. You can also talk about Android phones
have a little fun
that have
not only does this and
built-in
phones like it try to
lenses.
defy physics with things like portrait mode to simulate a larger sensor, and even the Hasselblad modes with lens emulation to mimic the bokeh of these bigger, better lenses, but they're also making literal lens attachment accessories to unlock even more incredible capability.
So that's an Oppo.
And also the Vivo X300 Pro are at the forefront of that with these attachments that are honestly kind of insane. Like Oppo has it with Hasselblad, Vivo is doing it with Zeiss. This phone has a whole specialized case and lens attachment and battery grip with a 2-stage shutter button. It's truly hilarious that you can carry all this stuff around and actually take some pretty incredible 400mm zoom photos that you can technically say you shot on your smartphone. But at the end of the day, as good and as fun as this is, it's really impressive. It's still mimicking.
And that's the point. It's not, it's mimicking a large camera, but it's also a phone. It's the camera that you have with you. Which is the best camera? The camera you have with you. And if you have the phone with you, then that's the best camera. And, he may be talking about look, you can put this 400mm lens on there. Hey, if you're doing baseball and you need to have that shot from the outfield over the shoulder of the pitcher to look at the catcher, look what you got right there. And it's not even cobbled together with different company stuff. It's actually purpose-built with a long optical zoom lens, plus all of the built-in capabilities of the phone, the computational photography, the ability to take really bright and really dark areas and bring them closer together through technology within the sensor itself. You're not going to get that with most DSLRs or broadcast cameras. You are going to get it with the computational photography of phones. And that's one of the key things. So, why? That's why, one of the key reasons. Why would I do this? Why would I go and spend $650 on 7 cameras? Why would I do that as opposed to just getting a good camcorder? Well, you're going to do that because of the computational photography in all of those devices. It dynamically adjusts various parts of the frame for best exposure. I mentioned Switcher Studio. I was using Switcher Studio 17, 18, 19, 20. That was my tool du jour for several years. It was so compact. I could roll in, set up a bunch of cameras just from like one Pelican case or two small luggage cases. It was fantastic. All wireless, didn't have to run batteries. I didn't have to run cables to any of them. I can control them all. And that's one of the magic things too, is through Switcher Studio and these apps, they're able to remotely tell the phone what to do. Switcher Studio in particular, you could, from the iPad, have individual control over all of your phones, all of your cameras, and tell this camera ISO, white balance, tint, shutter speed, zoom. You have all of those controls for each of your cameras separately from the software on the iPad. That's basically like what they have in that production truck. Somebody sitting there and adjusting the colors and brightnesses of all these cameras. You can do that. You don't need the Blackmagic. You don't need a production truck. You've got an iPad. That's how cool it is. And that is, in addition to the dynamic adjustment of these frames, because back when I was using the Switcher Studio and I was heavily involved in the user group, they did this test where they went through different models of cameras and showed what they can do. And there was a moment where the guy was like waving his arm in the air over a bright background. And you could actually see that when he moved his arm, the brightness of the background changed dynamically. Just this part of the frame where he was moving his hand would adjust for his hand against the white background, because it was already taking this bright background and making it a little bit not so bright so it fit into the frame better. But then when he put his hand there, it then had to not adjust it where his hand was. It was this dynamic, and it was live. As he was moving his hand, it would move along with his hand. This is happening in these phones. You don't get that with a broadcast camera or a DSLR. It does not mess around with the image. Phones, they all mess around with the image, unless you get an app that forces it not to. But I actually find it very preferable to have that help. I did a show the other day. I was outside, and you could see I had a phone as one of the cameras facing me. I had a camera and I had a phone, and the fence behind me on the camera was completely washed out. No detail. You couldn't tell what it was. The phone, I looked the same, but it was able to bring the fence brightness down. You could tell the individual slats of the fence. It was still overexposed, but it was able to do magic. And then, of course, it also finds the faces and lightens the face a little bit. And then it does detail enhancement, so it'll make the hair look a little sharper and stuff like that, and the clothes and everything. Multi-frame noise reduction. So if you're in the dark, it's actually going to start automatically, taking data across frames to get rid of the noise that would naturally appear. And then deliver greater dynamic range than the sensor itself is capable of doing through this ability to manage the image across the sensor itself. This is really one of the key reasons you would go and find older phones 2, 3, 4 years ago and start using them as cameras. And then, of course, like I said, is connectivity. How? So there's different ways to do that. First, you've got the phone ecosystems where it's all in the app, like Switcher Studio. That connectivity and the control is all in one app. Then you've got phone apps that let you go into other systems. Like I have a director here, a Magewell director, and they make an app. It's their Magewell director control app that also works as a camera. So then you can add 3 cameras into a Magewell director. So you're not doing it to another phone, you're doing it to a specific item. So it's a phone app that goes into another system. There's also phone apps for like Wirecast and other tools like that as well. The Mevo Studio has an app. So that way you're able to run a phone app and go into, let's just say Wirecast. You're able to go into Wirecast on a PC or a Mac, but you have the Mevo Go app on your phone and it makes that connectivity really easy. Then of course you can go streamed to anything. And when I say streamed, I mean you're using any sort of app, and there are hundreds of apps. I'm not going to get into that. Go find your own app. But you can go streamed, and by streamed, I mean via IP. You could go NDI, you could go SRT, you could go WebRTC, you could go RTMP, any number of protocols. You can go from that app on your device to anything. You could destination to a computer. You can go to multiple devices. You could go through the cloud and over. You know, if you're like YOLO, the YOLO box has a remote guest feature. So I could get the invitation on my phone, sign in, and now my phone is a remote guest into the YOLO box. It's a camera. So it's now anywhere in the world connected via Wi-Fi or even a cellular connection, and it's WebRTC all the way back to the YOLO box. And I'm able to move it around and do whatever I want. And of course, there's wired. Like I said, a USB-C to HDMI adapter or a Lightning to HDMI adapter. Those would be the ways that you're going to take the video signal out of the phone and put it onto a standard video signal cable to your destination. And sometimes you need to use a special app. Like there are plenty of apps, and I've actually did a video about this a little bit previously, but the Blackmagic app is free, it's readily available, and it has what we call clean output. So it's able to say, oh, okay, you can see on the phone all of these controls for your video signal, but on the second screen going out the HDMI, I'm going to just feed clean video. That's it. And then that goes to your switcher. Space says, chiming in, thank you very much. Larix Broadcaster is probably the best cam app I have ever used. Blackmagic is next. Like I said, there are lots and lots of apps out there to do this. And I do appreciate everybody jumping in from StreamTek, Wisconsin. What you doing up there? and there are lots of apps. I'm going to get to a page with a few of them that let you pick whichever app you want. You know, some are paid, some are free, some are good, some are bad. I was in the Osee group. Somebody posted about how their switcher was awful, you know, because while they were at an event, they decided to add another view with a cell phone. So they downloaded an NDI app with a 3 rating, launched it, tried to grab the NDI feed in the switcher, and it crashed the switcher, and it, you know, went down, and they had to power it back up. And they felt that was a switcher problem. Turns out, like everybody that was in there, all the comments to that particular post were all about, listen, you didn't test it before the show. You don't know that app was good. It only has 3 out of 5 stars. So there's a bunch of people who are commenting on that app saying it's crap. And it's not even an official NDI app. So go get the NDI app from VizRT, and you're more likely to be able to have success and test it before your show. Continuing along. So this is a brief overview of the phone ecosystems. So there's Mevo Studio by Logitech. They make the Mevo cameras, the Mevo Core. They also have Mevo Studio. They haven't. This is not to be confused with the Mevo camera app, which your app on a device will talk to one camera and adjust the settings and everything. The Mevo Studio is where multiple cameras can come in and switch. You can get the app for free. If you want the advanced features like NDI input and things like that, then you have to subscribe. It's available on iOS and Android. So it's one of the few apps, switching apps, that's also available on Android. So you can run it on a Samsung tablet or whatever you want. The cameras are available on iOS and Android. Switcher Studio, which I've talked about before, is something that I've used for many years. I'm not in the user group at the moment. Like I said, I've moved on to focusing on using other cameras for my productions, but they've also banned me from the group, despite me being a huge proponent of the app. So you won't find me in the user group. It's available. It will run on an iOS, and they have adapted it for Mac. So if you have an M series Mac and an M series iPad, the same app runs on both. And then your cameras are iOS and Android. They just introduced, like within the past month, after 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, a long time, they finally introduced an Android app capability for phones. So that's really cool. I have not tested it. I don't know if you get the same camera control of an Android phone as you do with an iOS. But to me, Switcher Studio was the bar. That was what, that was why I used it for everything. There were other tools out there, but the animated titles, the polished capability, the dynamic moves between scenes, and the camera control just made it hands down for me what I was happy to pay for. Of course, I was only paying $29 a month for it, and now it's considerably more expensive. But that was one of the older, well thought out, well-established solutions. Mavis Studio is something that I have seen just pop up now. It's on iOS only to run, and it will bring in cameras from iOS and NDI. Top Director has been around for a couple years. It's an iOS app. It will bring in NDI and also USB. So if you have an iPad M series with a USB 3 on the bottom, they say you can actually bring in 4 UVC sources. So 4 webcams or 4 HDMI to UVC converters. Like, I have one here. Do I have one here? No, I don't. I usually have one here. So you could bring in I got one right here. So you could take an HDMI adapter like this, put it into this, and now you've got it onto USB, and you could take 4 DSLRs and bring them in over USB into Top Director. Also, iOS BirdDog, the Mach-E Studio, they have come out with a studio very similar to Top Director, except they have a very nice control surface. Top Director also offers a control surface. It's a little different. It's actually got more inputs over here. This is the one from BirdDog. So you can get the BirdDog Mach-E Studio, download it, play around with and everything. You can put one source in it, but when you try to put in more sources, it's going to say, I need to see the dongle. This is basically your permission to use the full capability of the app. And then lastly, you've heard me mention it before. On iOS, there's Teradek AirMix. It has been orphaned. It is no longer, well, I say no longer supported, but just a few months ago, they came out with an update. So go figure. It's available, and it will accept iOS and Android phones. And Teradek AirMix has been accepting Android phones since before COVID. For a good 5, 6, 7 years, they've been taking Android phones. And on the solution that I have for sale on eBay, that's what I recommend people do. Is you can use whatever software solution you want, iPad or Android or whatever, Mevo Studio, Switcher Studio. But I say, hey, listen, you can get this, and the app, if you use Teradek AirMix, doesn't cost you anything on top of that. So that is why I recommend Teradek AirMix. And I have also created a user group. If you are interested in Teradek AirMix and you are on Facebook, you can go over to the Teradek AirMix group, unofficial. There's 69 members. Who's going to be the 70th? And we can all support each other and say, how can I get this? What adapter do I need? Can you do this? What's the best way to do that? What Wi-Fi do you use? What HDMI adapter do you use? Whatever. Great place to have that support there. And in terms of Apple putting big lenses on small sensors, there's the B4 on Micro Four Thirds group that I started, I think, almost 10 years ago at this point. And so I've been putting big ENG glass on small sensor cameras for a long time. And if you want more information about those videos, you can go to the StreamTek channel on YouTube, because I am also broadcasting to Twitch and to Facebook and to YouTube and to LinkedIn. Hopefully that's working today. So if you're watching on all of those other avenues, feel free to go over to the YouTube channel and comment on the show, say hello, throw a dollar or something, and you can also like and subscribe and share one of these videos with people that watch your social media. I also write for Streaming Media Magazine, so you can find that here. It's a quarterly physical magazine that is published on paper, as well as they have online free newsletters you can sign up for. These things up here, you can sign up for those newsletters, and they come every week with a bunch of content. And if you needed to reach out to me for that one-on-one consulting, you can go to streamtek.us, and there's a contact us form up there. So thanks for listening to the commercial. Let's go back to that. So continuing on, the phone apps, it's kind of the same thing. Those are the phone apps that are available for those many different things. But like I was saying, there's other phone apps, and I have one up here. Where is it? Here it is. So like Telestream makes a computer-based live switching app called Wirecast. They have their own app called Wirecast Go. So you can download this app. It's available, as you can see, in the iPhone App Store, not Android. They haven't figured that out. So that is an app. And I think, as it was mentioned, Larry's Broadcaster is out there. I think the Livestream app that was purchased by Vimeo, I think that had its own app as well. It's been a minute since, people have even talked about that app. And Magewell, which I had mentioned, has the Director Utility app, which can be run on a phone, and then your phone becomes a camera, and the Magewell Director, the Director Mini and the Director One, will accept 3 of these, and it doesn't care if it's Android or iPhone. So that's available for both. Now that same app is also That same app is also full remote control of your device. So you're not limited to 3 cameras, but you can still have other devices connected through the app doing other things. Like you can have one with the audio mixer on it. You can have another one with just your graphics on it. You can have another one doing whatever, input switching, audio control, scoreboard control, shortcuts control, instant replay control, device configuration, and here's the audio mixer. So it's actually kind of interesting that it's sideways and it's not sideways. That I told them, listen, it should be the same on the remote one, but it's not. On the phone, it's designed that you're holding it vertically, but on the Director, it's designed to be horizontal. So you can't rotate your phone because then all the text is sideways. I don't know. That's just the way they did it. And it can be your mobile camera. So that is a really handy feature. I actually have a demo here in case somebody wants to see it. Where is my cursor? Question comes in. Can this app be used with the Duet video mixer? I don't know which app you're referring to. And then we come over here. I talked about AirMix. AirMix is available in this. Teradek still has this page on their website. They haven't supported the app in like 5 years. They did just come out with an update. In general, there's been no new features in development of the app other than the recent bug fix in years, but they still have this on their website that shows you all about the app. And honestly, it is a very well featured app. It's not the same as Switcher Studio. Switcher Studio gives you cool animated titles and fly-ins and things like that. This does not. However, the Teradek AirMix app actually gives you, let's see if they have it, you could build multi-layered scenes very easily and have them at the ready. And then they have a full-on audio mixer for each input, including effects. Switcher Studio doesn't have that. They assume that you're going to do your audio mixing and then feed it into the iPad. But your audio mixing has to happen somewhere else. AirMix has always had a full-fledged multi-channel audio mixer with effects. AirMix will also do lens corrections. So if you were to go with this thing and use one of these lenses and maybe it kind of pin cushions it a little bit, you can actually correct that in Teradek AirMix. You could do chroma keys in AirMix. Built-in audio mixer, social chat, PDF support, recording, replay. It offers instant replay. So the Teradek app is pretty well featured, and I'll say it again, it's free. And if you have older devices, one of the really nice things about the fact that AirMix has not continued development, it does not require an M series iPad. You can have an older A series iPad, and this runs, because that's when this was being developed. That was the top of the line iPad when this was being developed. So it runs very nicely on old hardware. That's really, really cool. The Osee Studio has the ability to bring in, oops, don't click there, control multiple sources and overlays and NDI capability. So NDI HX, not full NDI, HX. Picture-in-picture, media playback, title overlays, NDI output, record, and the control surface is very, very, very handy because, you know, one of the problems with a touchscreen, like with Switcher Studio, is in order to do anything, you have to look down and see where your finger's touching. You can't leave your finger on the screen to do things. Whereas if you have a control surface, and I'm switching, I could just be like 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, go graphics, I can have all of that muscle memory and be able to switch a stuff while paying attention to what's going on. I don't ever have to look down to find something. Or like on a YOLO box, if I'm switching between comments and titles, I have to go between different pages of content. So there's an advantage to having the hardware control surface, and it works very nicely with their NDI cameras because it's Bird Dog. Come over here to Top Director, live production for NDI, SRT, UVC, RTSP on iOS and iPad OS. And they can bring in hardware because this is based on NDI. It's an NDI switching app. Yes, you can bring in UVC connected devices, but it was really conceived and designed to be an NDI app. And I got to there's an interview on the StreamTek YouTube channel with the guy who actually authors it. I was at NAB. And in addition to that, there is a whole series of support apps. The Top Director camera, the NDI Monitor Pro, NDI Multiview, because if you're using NDI cameras, they don't have to just go to the device that you're doing the switching on. Unlike if I'm using the Magewell app and the Magewell, phone camera is connected to this one Magewell director, that's the only place it's going. That's the only place you can see it. If, however, I use NDI on the phone and the NDI is on the network, I can get it on my director. I can also see it in a multi-view app. Somebody else can switch an entirely different show on Top Director, all from that one phone via NDI. That's one of the really nice advantages of NDI. SRT is point-to-point. RTSP is point-to-point. WebRTC is point-to-point. NDI is, I'm here on the network. Who would like to see it? And that's a real advantage, I think. And they also have NDI player, so you can have a playback. You can have a laptop or something designed to just play back video clips, and then it plays it back over NDI, which then goes into the NDI-based switcher. You see how these apps support each other? USB camera to NDI, NDI screen capture, teleprompter Max, and on and on. So these, you have to pay for them, but you only pay for them once. These are not subscription costs. So that's the nice thing about Top Director. I should also say the Osee Studio is, you purchase the Bird Dog switcher, the control surface, which is powered via USB, but it's not a USB connection. It's a Bluetooth connection to your iPad. And purchasing this, you're done. You've basically purchased the app. It's there. And you don't, so it's not a monthly cost. And then continuing along, we've got the Mavis Studio. I wanted to have this up here and show it to you. However, the newest iPad app I have, I forgot the password. And interestingly enough, when I go to the Mavis website, it says it has a press release, but it doesn't have a page showing you the app like the other websites do. And then when I go to the products and say Studio, it goes to, oh, there it is. Now it's working. I tried this before the show. It would not come up. So here's the app. And you can see that this app is available just for iPad, and it has a very unique layout. And I kind of like the little USB. Can I zoom on this? Yes, I can. It's got this little, looks like directional thing here. So I could possibly be for PTZ cameras. That would be really cool. And then also have some presets in there. And they don't have a breakdown like where's the audio mixer and things like that, unfortunately. But thankfully, I am able to show you. However, it's only got 1 rating. So it's very new. One person rated it 1 star, which is very odd. But again, it's very new. Maybe somebody got it and they're not into production and they thought it would just sort of like do everything magically, which I find typically the case. You know, this is broadcast. Broadcast is not easy. And, you know, if you sign up, if you download an app like this and you're like, oh, I can't get my camera in here. How's my camera going to get into the iPad? Yeah, it's a hurdle. Just like, you know, the Fato is trying to connect their phone to the Osee. It's a challenge. There's things to overcome. And I can definitely see somebody getting frustrated and saying the app is awful because I can't get my phone into it. So I wouldn't necessarily take that 1 rating. Switcher, here's the Switcher website. Switcher tried to rebrand themselves. It's always been Switcher Studio. However, they only say Switcher now, even though the website says Switcher Studio. And the app in the App Store is still called Switcher Studio. Their branding says Switcher. They just dropped the studio part because I think they're trying to promote their entire ecosystem now. So much so, if you come on this website, they don't show you the app at all. They talk about media assets, you know, going on multiple cameras. You can transition. You can kind of see the app right there. The reach and collect donations and earn money and showcase things and use their cloud. You can try it for free for 14 days. You can see, you know, the result of things. You can see the scoreboards. Could do to be a little better. And turn your passion into a movement and everything. I always hope that they would show like the actual Switcher Studio interface, host and manage, monetize, create, live stream. Maybe if I click on that. Nope, still not showing you the interface. There it is, kind of a little bit. Although they're just showing you vertical, which I think is kind of increasing, but not as much streaming happens vertically as happens horizontally. And nowadays, if you saw my recent show about Restream, now the big push is both, switching both at the same time. And yesterday I got to see the vMix Funtime live show, and that's vMix is a live switching app. And if they do their own show, the engineer and the marketing person from vMix take questions live and everything. And there were a couple questions about doing both at the same time. And they were like, well, the API hasn't been fully released. We don't know how many people are going to use it. So they haven't really jumped into the pool yet. But Restream, as you saw last week, I was doing it. And if you actually go to the StreamTek page, and you go to my live shows, you will see there it is. I did a vertical and horizontal at the same time, dual aspect streaming. So this is the show, and these are the 2 streams that I did in that show using another browser. So I was streaming both horizontal and vertical, and you can see that the lower third is in the bottom. Let's go to me over. my lower third graphic is placed in the corner here, and my lower third graphic is placed in the corner here, but different places. This one's more centered. This one's, yes, this is a center crop, but if you're doing two, you can arrange it so it's two over. You could, bring in comments and they're always in the right place and things like that. So that is literally creating two different shows at the same time using one switching solution. And when you switch to a particular view, it is that view for both. And then you can switch to a PowerPoint, and it's the PowerPoint layout for both. You're not, you don't have to switch this and that. You're just switching to this view and that view and that view. 1, 2, and 3, scene 1, 2, and 3. And it's going to switch both of these at the same time. So I think that's where things are going to really be going, as opposed to talking about just doing vertical here. I think, the tools are going to have to get a little bit more savvy all of a sudden. We've got a new hurdle, which is being able to design, set up, and design two shows for two destinations, a vertical and a horizontal show, at the same time, that when I hit camera 1, it's the vertical camera 1 and the horizontal camera 1. When I hit the two, it's version 2 for vertical, it's version 2 for horizontal. So I don't have to worry about switching two different things. I've set them both up to match so that when I switch these different cameras and I go to the me over, it's me over for vertical and me over for horizontal. I think that's really the next level of things that are going to be happening for live switching. And then one more. Let's go to the next thing, and the next one is the Mevo Studio app. I did do an article about the Mevo. I did do a video on the Mevo Studio app probably about a month or two ago. Maybe I'm going to say maybe 2 months ago. Maybe longer. Here it is. 2 months ago. So if you were over here, you can see the Mevo Studio 4.0. So they came out with the 4.0 of the app, which was a complete revamp. And in the user group, there were a lot of people who were like, wow, this really makes things simple. And other people who were like, I was really used to how I was able to do it before, and you totally screwed that up. So there's two camps. And that Mevo, they've since revised it and updated it, and they just had a couple things come out with regards to camera issues. So they are actively working on the Mevo Studio app to improve it and make it better. And it's probably worth a relook, because that is 2 months ago, and 2 months in live streaming authoring time is a long time. So you can go and check that out if you're interested in, look at that, I can switch what's in that box. The Mevo Studio app. And as you can see, it's available for iOS and Android. So if you happen to have, as I do, I don't know, you can't really tell. It has this cool origami. There we go. If you happen to have an Android tablet with an origami thing, this is a Samsung, and you can run the Mevo Studio app on here. And I think the one I have on here is the 4.0. So let's go to overhead. If you are an Android tablet user, there you go. Mevo Studio running on an Android tablet. There it is. Update available. Yes, I know. 4.4. Hey, let's update it because we're not doing a show. All right. So while that's updating, let's take a couple questions, because like I said, throw your questions in the comments. This is we're nearing the end of the show. So if you have something you want to say, you have a question you want answered, throw it into the comments now. I know you're 20 seconds behind me, so don't delay. I Edit Project says, welcome to the show. Good afternoon. I tested OBSBot Tail 2 NDI into the Extreme this week. It simply works. Yes. The YOLObox Extreme can handle lots of NDI. The one thing I am really hoping YOLO gets around to doing is auto location for PTZ control. And let me show you what I mean. So I have a camera. If you look at my overhead again, I have a camera. It's NDI. It's way over there. And on the director, I basically connect to the camera, and then when I say PTZ controls, there's my PTZ controls. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can control it, but it's just there because when I connected to it, I'm now connected. I mean, it kind of makes sense. And it's like that on a PC as well. So if I went to my laptop and I said, and I opened, Studio Monitor. And again, this is about NDI. NDI allows that one camera to go to multiple places. So what I'm opening here is Studio Monitor. It's a free app from the NDI. I want to say NDI group, but it's not, it's Vizard. And I can go to the P200 and say Cam HX, and boom, there it is. And it's got image controls, camera controls right there. So I'm able to control the camera either on my laptop, so I can zoom out here a little bit, a little jerky, and say store as 2, and then on my director, I'm going to say PTZ controls go to 1. It's one of the reasons I love NDI. The fact that 2 different devices are talking to the same camera and both are able to control it in, 2, 3, 5, 10. That's cool. And it simply works. We're going to talk about the Simply Works, and this is very important. I mean, it's kind of not about phones, but if you were, let's just say I've got this. Can I have a video out on this? I don't. So I'm just going to move this over. I can put it right over top. There we go. So I've got my, is this going to see the network? Can I do NDI? I got to, it might be on the Wi-Fi network. We'll see. There it is. P200 cam. So this is bringing in full NDI, and it's bringing in the HX signal from the P200 that I have over there. I've upgraded the P200, and it's able to output both at the same time. So I'm going to take the HX signal, and I say done. So now I have the camera, the same camera that's over here, in my YOLO box. Now I want to control the PTZ control, right? I want to tilt it. So I go over here, say PTZ control, and it says, tell me where this camera is. Well, you can't see that. Let me see if I can make this a little darker. Cancel. See if I can make the screen a little darker. And I say PTZ control, and it says, give me the IP address to the camera that I'm already connected to. So I hope YOLO can realize, and when you connect to the camera that's right there, that you already know the IP address because you're getting video from it. Fill in this blank yourself and just let me connect to the camera to control the PTZ. So it's not, the extreme is not as easy as it could be, whereas this box and my computer, when I connect to it, look, I've got my PTZ controls right there. If I wanted to delete that camera, I can't delete it while I'm looking at it, go away, and I'll delete it. I'll show you the same thing. Delete it. It's gone. So here's my phone camera. I'm going to say, get me an NDI. Search the network. What do I have? I have that. Let's go get it. Save. There it is. Select it. PTZ control. Boom. That simply works. This one, YOLO, still needs a little help. Technically this screen, they should be able to, in the back end, get the IP address from the camera when you connected, fill this out and make that automatic, and you'll never see this screen again. I hope they can do that, because then I'm like, well, how do I get the IP address of that camera? And it's like, does it tell me here? I'm on the Ultra at this point, and no, it doesn't tell me. So can I touch this, replicate, rotate, transition, rename, cropping? If I go to rename, I'm just renaming that. I'm not, cancel. Can I cancel this? Whatever. So there's no way. I have to go and somehow through another solution get the IP address and put that into the PTZ controls. And that is something I think YOLO could really work on, or easily work on, and fix. I Edit Project asks, if I invest in a powerful travel router, I might double down on the NDI workflow. I'm going to bring this up again. I'm going to bring this up again. NDI is not for the faint of heart. I have an Eero Pro, which is very compact and easy to, does a good job. I have an Eero Pro version 6. If I try to push 2 streams of NDI from that camera over there to 2 different devices over here, they're gonna drop frames because the Eero Pro can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. However, this can. And I say, NDI is not for the faint of heart. So I went and, it's probably a bit of overkill. It's probably a bit of overkill. But this is, let me switch to this button. This is the Republic of Gamers beast of a Wi-Fi. This has no problem because it is designed on the back plane to handle, you can't see it there, 2.5 gigabit networking. And it has a 2.5 gigabit LAN port too. 2.5 in and out. So it's meant to handle a lot of data. So I could probably handle, actually I did. If you go to the show that I did on 4K cameras, that was all through this. And it handled them just fine. Multiple 4K, 3 4K cameras through this. Handled it just fine. I have also done, this is also an Asus. Which one is this? I don't know. This is a little one that I have used in the past, and I actually just purchased this specifically for when I do location events, because this little thing with antennas that fold up, so it can, reach 4 antennas that fold up. And it also does this thing called mesh node. So this one is the mesh node, and the other one is the master. And I did an event with 4 standard definition NDI cameras coming into this, wireless from this to the other one, into a TriCaster. So these 2 things were able to handle that traffic between the 2 of them just fine. So I have no problem with this. I'm very confident this will also handle NDI, and this packs up very, very nice. This does not. These antennas don't fold down. They're just like, what were they thinking with this? I guess you set it up in your house and you never touch it again. And the other thing, just a side note, these little red things don't light up. I'm kind of disappointed in that. I kind of expected it would. But yes, you might be able to get a powerful travel router, but do not be discouraged if you test it. Test. If you test it with multiple NDI signals and you don't get good throughput. I have overbought. I will admit I have overbought, but I have also pushed 3 4K cameras through it and I did not reach its ceiling. So I'm happy. I guess the HTML page can detect how the viewer is watching. It might, I don't know, because when I streamed to YouTube, it split it up to both vertical and horizontal, but I don't know how it knows, maybe if they've got it on a phone in vertical, it knows and it will give them the vertical mode, or if they're holding it horizontal. I don't know if people can change. I haven't been on the receiving end of one of those yet, because this is very, very, very new. As of 2026, this is 2 roads diverged in the woods. Or maybe they combined in the woods. I don't know. Very interesting. Fato says, thank you for teaching. I enjoy it. Happy to help. Thanks, very useful. Keep it up. Thank you very much. And CNS Peace says, the Netgear Orbi as a champ. Yes, Netgear they have specifically made wired routers for AV. It's their AV line of routers for NDI and Dante and all things networked IP video. And so Netgear understands, you know, the requirements. And so the Orbi is their, I think they're high-end home mesh routers. You know, he says the Orbi is a champ. Hey, how many NDI video signals have you put through your Orbi? That's a good question. I get it, probably. Those routers seem very capable. My LightPack multicam NDI daydream is evaporating. Well, you think of it though. With NDI, you get camera control, and you're doing all of that wirelessly, so you don't have to bring wires. Yes, you could, you know, I will say, is it here? I think it is here. With the Switcher Studio, with Switcher Studio, I had a LightPack multicam, but not NDI. I was using the Switcher Studio app with the iPad, and this is my glue. This one hockey puck, like we called them pucks in the Switcher Studio user group. This is the 2016 version of the Google Wi-Fi. I have a bunch of these because that one fishing expo I did, I set up a 5-node mesh network covering the entire facility. So no matter where I had a camera, it could talk to one of these nodes that was close to it. And then these nodes all communicated back to the iPad that was doing the switching. And another reason these 2016 nodes, which I have a bunch of that I'm not using, and one of these is included with the phone kit as well, is it's USB-C powered. So you can take a big old fat battery bank, put this thing up high up on a light stand way over everybody's head, and has a clear view of the entire facility. And these things handled 9 cameras for 4 hours without a problem. Now, I have not tested these with multiple NDI signals. These are only a 2-band router, whereas the Asus are tri-band routers. This is only a 2-band router. And if it's using one of those bands for the backhaul, then I don't really know how it works. But hey, you can definitely, you got to move it back so it's not so bright. You can definitely, this is definitely packable. This is definitely packable, and honestly, so is this. Now, this is not USB-C. That's why I've got the power adapter on top. But these are not that far apart in terms of, you know, packing them in a box and knowing that I can do at least 4 HD signals wirelessly with this. I'm happy. I'm happy. But as always, test, test, test. I've had people say they've had really good results with the barrel routers and better. GL iNet does a really good job, although I think their latest router can't be imported into the US because reasons. And but the GL iNet routers are capable, and I've seen people in various NDI groups talk about how they will handle multiple sources. Also, the Mevo users who are using the Mevo Studio app, and they've got multiple Mevo starts, or they're using a phone with the app because they have an app for your cameras. Let's scroll down, see if we can get to that. So yeah, you could do this. So the Mevo Go over there is, so you got the Mevo Core, the Mevo Start, the Mevo Plus. I don't think anybody even uses the Mevo Plus anymore. And the Mevo Go app works with Logitech Mevo Studio. So then you could use a bunch of these and the iPad app if you wanted to go in the Mevo ecosystem. And that way you could switch everything with a hockey puck just like this. And it will do all of these things. Now, hey, they're showing an Eero Pro over there. Huh? The really interesting thing is, with this app is that it really shows the difference between connecting via NDI and connecting via Mevo. Because Mevo, like Switcher Studio, Mevo has a certain amount of control when you use their app or their phone. So I haven't tested it with the phones to see if you get the same capabilities, but when you use the Mevo Start or the Core through the app, you have access to exposure, color controls, white balance, all these other nuanced paint controls that you don't have with NDI. And interestingly, when I have a Mevo Start and I go to connect to it in the app, it'll show up twice. It'll show up as Mevo Start and it'll show up as Mevo Start NDI, because both of those protocols are available at the same time. Now maybe I can turn NDI off on the camera and connect via just the Mevo ecosystem, the Mevo glue, and have all of that camera control. Because I don't have it with NDI, I'm not going to use NDI if I have a choice of something better. So that's, another example of staying within the, having a phone app in the ecosystem. And again, I will admit I have not tested the Mevo Go app in Mevo Studio to see if I get full white balance and other camera controls. Can I zoom and do all that in the phone from the Mevo Studio app on an iPad or my Android tablet? So that would be very, very cool. And I also talked about streamed, as IP. There are, on the left is iOS, on the right is Android. There are lots of IP solutions. This is why I'm not going to say, get this one, or I've tested. Oh my goodness. I actually don't do SRT because most of the things I need to do are local, and I am able to handle all of that via NDI, and NDI also gives me camera control and zoom and tally and a whole bunch of other things that SRT and RTMP do not offer. And if you use some other IP connection, those other things don't offer the bi-directional communication that NDI offers. Also, NDI allows me to see to multiple places. So if you had two Osee switchers like the Duet 8, you could have one camera going to two switchers and two people. One person can switch vertical, one person can switch horizontal, or one person can switch the Spanish show, one person can switch the English show. You can have two people doing two different things, with NDI that you can't do via SRT, RTMP, or the other solutions. And that's a real advantage. But SRT, RTMP do offer the ability to easily, well, I won't say easily, but to work in more difficult networking situations and between locations. So you can SRT from one city to the next. NDI, that's a little bit more of a challenge. I'm not saying SRT is easy, because you have to be able to control the ports that are open to bridge the connection between the two locations. And if you're in a corporate environment where you have no control over that, SRT is not going to help either. One thing that has come out is now BirdDog. This is not a phone camera thing, but BirdDog is now offering Connect in their PTZ cameras, and it's going to be upgraded and rolled out to their all their cameras. And what that means is once you set up a Connect account and connect to the camera, you can then just ship a camera somewhere. When it sees the internet, it's going to connect with Connect. I hate things that are verbs and nouns at the same time, like Apple calling mail, so that you can read your mail in mail. So you can connect your phone, your PTZ camera to Connect, and then you could be at another location, see it, and connect it to your local switcher. So really cool. It's remote glue. So you can do that via NDI. It's just you need something to bridge the gap, whereas SRT is point-to-point, RTMP is point-to-point. And all of these apps are available for all the different solutions. Wired, as we said over here, the BirdDog has this great dock. They're jumping on that. And if you don't want to go with the bird dog solution, you can, over there, you see Lightning, or that's USB-C to HDMI, and that gives you a video output. And you'll probably need to add power to it. You'll probably need to add power to the adapter, which is converting this, taking the signal out of your phone and providing it on HDMI. I have not seen one of these that goes directly to SDI. I don't know why, but it doesn't. HDMI, there's actually a licensing fee, but I would think they would have that, but haven't seen it yet. So the big thing is the computational photography for phones just really makes this very enticing. Also, in terms of being able to carry 6 phones or 6 cameras in my hand and purchase old systems for low cost so that you can have lots of views all over the place, you know, that makes things really, really cool. And that computational photography allows for the adjustment of various parts of the frame to fix the image in the camera. Face lightening, detail enhancement, multi-frame noise reduction, and potentially a greater dynamic range than the sensor alone is able to do, because it's very quickly grabbing multiple, it's bracketing the exposure and compiling all that together. It's computational photography. It's not just taking the sensor and saying, oh, you get 11 stops of, you know, dynamic range. And that's really what I wanted to talk about with regards to phones as cameras. So that concludes today's lesson. Thank you all. There will be a test tomorrow. CNSpace replies to my question, 3 4K NDI cameras? I only have 3. Well, 3 4K cameras is a good test. Do you think the OBSBot Tiny 3 could be used in a worship situation? Yes, if you're close enough. Depends on where you can put the camera. Now remember, the camera, the Tiny 3, is made for webcam, so it's made for close. So you could technically, if somebody's going to stand at a table, a podium, or whatever, a pulpit, a bema, if they're going to stand there and talk to the audience, you could put the webcam on a little magic arm just kind of out in front. And then the nice thing is with these cameras, you can program them, put in settings that are always there. And then as they moved around, it would follow them. Like, I don't have one now, so if it's a static camera and I move off frame, I moved away. But the other one, if they moved around, it would track with them. And that's a really cool thing, especially in a worship type situation. If you get somebody that moves and is dynamic and moves closer and moves further, it would move with them. It would actually zoom a little bit with them to, you know, it always keep them in the same part of the frame. So that's really, really cool. It can work. The real trick you're going to have is if the Tiny 3 is a USB camera. So then, depending upon how far you are, you're going to need to convert USB to HDMI. OBSBot has a solution for that, and then write an HDMI to where you need to do the switching. Then also you don't have USB control of the camera, so you can't change those settings unless you bring a laptop over to it and plug it into the laptop via USB and say, okay, I got to change the white balance. Somehow it got messed up or whatever. I had a project says, I also test the OBSBot app with the Apple Vision Pro. Interesting. It works insanely well, but is a bit ridiculous out in public. I don't know. There's nothing ridiculous about it. I just wear the big goggles. What are you doing? I'm switching the show. Yes, if you haven't seen, I did this really cool show about, just released a video about using the OBSBot Center. They don't call it OBSBot Studio yet. It's just OBSBot Center. And OBSBot Center is a full-featured multi-camera with 2 picture-in-picture setups that you can design, switching tool. And then you can record the program, or you can feed the program into Zoom or Restream or whatever you wanted, and do all of the switching in OBSBot Center, not Studio. But yeah, technically you could, do that in Apple Vision Pro and move things. And I guess you click your fingers like this. I don't know. I don't have one. And that would be kind of cool. What I would actually love is I would love to have a set of glasses that I could do multiple windows. So I could, use vMix and have 3 LCD displays or 4 and have different stuff running on each display and be able to look around at the displays and not have to bring a bunch of monitors. I could just bring a pair of glasses and be like, yeah, I got a laptop and I can, make it work on one display. But if I could add glasses to the display port or whatever and the USB-C and be able to have 3 more monitors over top of my laptop, and here's the PowerPoint, here's the YouTube feed, here's my audio mixer, or just have all these heads-up displays. I would love to have that in a glasses solution. I've heard that the Apple Vision Pro lets you put application windows in different places, but not separate laptop displays in different places. So that would be the caveat. Also the cost. I don't feel like paying thousands upon thousands of dollars. I'll carry LCD monitors. Thank you very much. You can fully control the OBS Tail 2 as well as see the video feed. Cool. So I hope today's show has helped you with your production content. And I would be remiss if I didn't put it out there one more time. If you are interested in that kit I have for sale, you can go to the StreamTek.us page and reach out to me. This whole 7 cameras, 10 lenses, Wi-Fi, chargers. I have a big charging block with all these slots, and it'll charge 10 things at once. And it'll charge everything, and cables and lens caps and bags and holders for the phone and the iPad, so that you can attach wireless microphones and all that stuff to it. So this whole kit and caboodle I'm looking for $650. And if you are interested in that, reach out to me, send me a message. I'm available on the various socials. And I thank you all for being here. My name is Anthony Barocas. I am the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek. Happy to be with you every week on these live shows. And if you want to do me a solid, take one of the videos that I've produced that you like, share it on your socials, and that way other people can get to be introduced to the content we make here, and they may join up and be a subscriber as well. Thank you all for being here. Where do we reach out to you again? Which page, please? That would be StreamTek.us. Contact us. And then also, if you Google my name, I might pop up some places. Probably will pop up in many different places. But that's available on eBay. First person to get it on eBay gets it. So if you searched HD Podcasting Kit 7 cameras, 10 lenses, if you search for that, it'll pop up on eBay. Great show again. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all being here from around the world, from Africa, from Europe, from America, and everywhere. Thank you all for being here. And I will look forward to the next show next week. Till next time, thanks for watching.